Good morning, everybody. It is day 2 of 19 for COVID-19, and we're gonna make some scones, and I might even go back to bed and read, because I can. Isn't that nice? I can read, just because I want to. So let's make scones. So in this huge bowl is 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of dark brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt. Those 2 lumps you see, that's 1 tablespoon each of baking powder. Here's a hack of adulthood. The reason why we don't bake is I think it's a pain in the neck to measure the ingredients. So I'm a big fan of that whole cook once, eat twice philosophy. So what I do, because I can't remember the recipe, is I write it on a sticky note and then measure out the flour and stick it in the fridge. So 3 months from now, when I feel like making scones again, I don't have to measure out how much is 3 cups of flour. I don't have to do that because it's done for me. So that's my hack of adulthood. If you're gonna do something once, make it easy to do it again the next time. I have to remind myself to go get ingredients, but part of me is thinking, well, what if this is short term? What if we all go back to work in 2 weeks and everything will be okay? And the other part of me is like, nope, no one's going back to work in 2 weeks. It's just, your emotions are all over the place. Even for someone like me who's not a morning person, for some reason that part of my brain is wide awake. So the reason why I decided to do 19 for COVID-19 is this isn't a decluttering video. This isn't like, losing a weekend to declutter purses I shouldn't have bought in the first place. This is just a way to feel in control of your life when you feel like nothing is in control. So we're not gonna do, let's declutter swimsuits and books and let's go through our tax documents. No, this is low-hanging fruit. This is the stuff that can be done at any time is done at no time. And things that annoy you, like the Tupperware drawer is always a hot mess, and how do I dispose of medication safely? That's another thing, you guys. If any of you are like me and are dealing with a chronic illness, please go refill your medicines ASAP. So I cut 1 stick of butter, which is 8 tablespoons, and I cut it into big cubes before I actually cut it again with a pastry cutter. Keep a knife handy because the butter is going to get stuck in your pastry cutter. I really like this tool. Being a minimalist, I think it's really important to have one tool that does many things. And when you read my book, you'll read this passage about kitchen clutter. And I actually had a meat tenderizer even though I'm a vegetarian. So you get to narrow down your items, but this item that I have right here, I'm not parting with it. I don't care if the tines are bent. The reason why is you can use this not just for cutting in butter into flour. You can also use it for mashing bananas. One ingredient I forgot to tell you about was smoked paprika. 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. The reason why I like smoked paprika in this recipe is because it kind of tricks your brain into thinking you're eating bacon. Here's what this looks like after you cut in the butter. It should look like there are starting to form pea-sized chunks of butter and flour. It's very casual at our house today. I actually just remembered to wear an apron so I don't get Vinay's sweatshirt dirty because last night was so cold I slept in his sweatshirt. We go through a lot of yogurt. You don't realize, but we go through a lot of yogurt in this house. And so we need 1 cup of yogurt. Here's my little hack for not making too many dishes. So there's 1. Here's 2. So 1 cup of yogurt. I use the same whisk that I use for breaking up the lumps in the flour. Next, I use the same container and crack 1 egg. I subscribe to HelloFresh, and I always have leftover of these cheese packets, which I just reuse in my scones. The recipe calls for 1 cup of cheese. We don't need that much cheese, so I'm just using pepper jack cheese and mozzarella. This is called like a shaggy dough. It doesn't look glamorous at all. So the pepper jack. And then with the mozzarella, what I'm going to do is just, there's a tiny little bit of it. I'm just going to put it on the top of the scone so you get that very Tim Hortons, you know, how they have like the cheese and it's kind of like burnt and caramelized at the top. That's my little Tim Hortons cafe and bake shop idea. Okay, now it's time to get dirty. See how it's not really taking form? It just crumbles out of my hand. Keep the knife nearby to scrape your fingers, and use the right side of the blade or the wrong side of the blade and scrape your fingers on the dough. So how is everybody self-quarantining? What are you gonna do? So we accomplished a lot yesterday. Actually, we did, you know, we made the bed and then took it apart and then changed the sheets for the spring. And then last night I saw flurries, and just 2 days ago I saw ducks walking on our pool cover because our pool cover has formed a mini pond. And then last night when I let the dog out one last time, I saw flurries, and this morning the pool cover where the pond was, it's frozen now. So, but we got to cuddle and watch the pale horse. I really like that actor. He's the same actor from Man in High Castle who plays John Smith. I like that actor, but I have a feeling the poor guy is getting typecasted because now he can't act in anything except the one that requires a handsome man from the 1960s. So you're probably wondering, why isn't she using a food processor? Very good question. It's actually the smarter way to do this. It'll actually take maybe 1/3 of the time, but the reason why I don't have a food processor is because I share it with my mom. Okay, we're just all so busy with work that nobody has time to bake. So I actually give my mom the stand mixer. Thank you, Sarah. It was a wedding present by KitchenAid. And I give it to my mom every Christmas because my mom makes this insane fruitcake that has more booze in it than like Scotland. So I think it needs brandy. I take it back. It doesn't really need scotch. Anyway, so my mom makes fruitcake, and it's a stand mixer, so it can stand up to like all those heavy ingredients of all the fruit and the dough. So yeah, so I got the stand mixer back, but I think we share the food processor because I don't really use the food processor. Like those days of me making like soup with a creamy texture, yeah, those days are over. Now it's all about HelloFresh, intermittent fasting. Those days are over. I think my husband's probably more sad than anybody because he was the recipient of like amazing food back in the day. So I don't know if you can appreciate this, but this is coming together nicely. So I'll save you the suspense. All you do is, once this comes together in a nice ball, which it will, you cut it into 2 mounds. Take those mounds, flatten it into a disc, and cut it into 8 wedges. So 3 cups of flour yields 16 scones. Okay folks, so I'm on my 2nd cup of coffee. This is what I meant by the scones being cut up, and you see those little tiny shreds of mozzarella. I just do that for like presentation effect, that's all. I don't have any desire to eat 16 scones because I'm fully capable of that. So this is a product called a Bigo. It is a piece of fabric that's in beeswax because I don't use saran wrap. And I'm just gonna freeze this, and maybe next weekend I'll have scones ready to go.